Hey, what's going on? Doc Vince here, and you are watching Fighters Lounge here in MMA Davao, where we talk about combat sports. And on this video, I will be joined by a legend, man. I'm calling him a legend. I call him the legend behind the lens in combat sports. So stay tuned. And by the way, if this is your first time here, don't forget to like, share, subscribe so that our message here in MMA Davao Fighters Lounge will reach on a broader audience. Now, picture immortalizes stories. It immortalizes legends, gives us a better perspective and understanding of history. And pictures helps us to be inspired, helps us to remember the past and move forward the future. And tonight, joining here with me, like I said, a legend behind the lens. Please help me welcome Mr. Don McGuire. Don, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm honored and blessed to be on your show, my brother. Finally we've got to communicate, but we finally get to see each other face to face, and I'm truly honored and humbled to be on your show tonight.
It's my honor and a pleasure and a privilege, man. No, uh, I got so many questions here, and you've been going back to back with live broadcast, and you mentioned to me that you got recently you just got off with an interview. Am I right?
Yeah, I just got through interviewing a legend of the sport on his way out. We all know him from the WEC days and the UFC days, but his last four fights, he stepped up in the bare knuckle fighting championships, and going into Knuckle Mania, I think it's February 5th. He's got his final fight, and I wanted to pay homage and tribute to a legend of the sport. So I had him on, and I also had another fighter from the card, Travis the Animal Thompson, two tremendous bare knuckle warriors. You know, it's funny when you think about 1836 was the last time bare knuckle was truly an aspect in British culture and American culture, going all the way back to John L. Sullivan. So
Mhm.
to see it come back in the past few years has been a tremendous new variance and a new era for the athletes and for warriors, because you see a lot of transitions from MMA now to the boxing aspect of bare knuckle, which when you really look at it is going back to the no holds bar days before the UFC, when it was truly raw. It was unedited, it was unscripted. You you pulled a straw and you didn't know who you were going to get. If you were 185, you could have been fighting a guy that was 230 pounds, and you were doing it bare knuckle back in the early 90s. So to see this truly come 360 and now have its own platform worldwide, it's an honor to be a part of that.
Bare knuckle, when it started here in the states, faced a lot of uh, resistance coming from the government side. Am I right?
Yes, sir. It took a long time to finally get, states to open up. I believe Mississippi, uh, and what was the other state that they do it in? Florida were two of the first two to open up, and then once they seen how relevant it was, the safety precautions and the love that people had for it, and they didn't see the devastation that they thought they were going to see. So right after that, you started seeing five, six, seven, eight more states finally open up and make it legal. And now it's growing. I mean, the numbers are crazy. It's surpassing into the millions of live views they get on pay per view. And, this card in particular, talking about Knucklemania, they've got a tremendous transition from the UFC and Paige Van Zant,
Mm.
who's facing Bretton Hart. I mean, so they're doing it big. They're doing it right. And, I got to look at the aspects of what the promotion has put into it. They've really put a lot of money out there, hoping that the fans would come to the promotion. And You and I both know as being in radio and other aspects, you got to build it and hopefully they will come. Well, Dave Feldman had a dream and his dream is finally coming true.
Wow, because I think this is some kind of a circle in terms of the combat sports. Like you said, here 1800s, you have it started that way, and for a long time we didn't hear anything about bare knuckle, and then suddenly there's a revival of bare knuckle. But I gotta stop with bare knuckle. I want to focus on you. So let's do this. Let's do round one. Now, Don, how did you start with your gift? When did you realize that you have the gift, you have the eye for taking things like, seeing exact movements, when to take photos and to immortalize them in film?
Well, to be honest with you, I really still don't realize like you and others have complimented me so well and on my work because I think once you see why you're famous or what you see, when you see why other people appreciate you, I think your career is done. But to get back to your question, I started shooting some Muay Thai smokers and some boxing aspects, not professionally, but just for some friends about 26 years ago. And
Mm.
the picture circulated around and people got word of my work. And to my surprise, I received a phone call from a major sporting organization asking me if I would come and shoot a world championship fight for them. And at first I thought it was a joke, but
Mhm.
the dream came true. And next thing I know, I was working for two promotions in boxing. And I fell in love with it because boxing was always something that I looked forward to. I remember Sundays, waiting for Wide World of Sports as a kid. And, here I am shooting some of the greatest legends and fighters in the sport. My love for photography, actually, I had always had it, but I didn't know that other people would look at it the way I do. And once I started getting well known for what I do, people say my pictures, like you said in the beginning of the show, they tell a story. It's not just the fighters in the cage or in the ring or on the mat, but my pictures encompass everything that's going on around. And I'm a firm believer that a picture does tell a thousand stories.
Mhm.
And I never see my work for what you guys do. I always try to step out of the box. I always try to add a different element to it. But I think it's like with you and me on radio and others in their profession as artists. I think, like I said in the beginning, if we see why other people appreciate us, I think our career is done for. I think it's time to hang up the camera. But what was weird in my career, I transitioned from boxing to Pride to Glory, and then ultimately to the UFC. And I thought I knew what my career was about. I thought I knew what my love and my passion was, but
Mhm.
I ended up losing my leg and I had to step away from the sport for a while. And I got an opportunity to come back with Fight Night Returns. And I shot that fight. And right after that, it was like I saw a new, different aspect in my work. Uh, I had a different pride in my work. And I did an interview, and somebody asked me, how was it coming back after losing my leg? And if I could take it back, would I? I wouldn't take it back because my work had a whole new meaning and a whole new inspiration.
Mhm.
Uh, it My work totally transformed. And at that point in time in my career, even though a lot of people paid attention to my work, I think at that point in time is when my work truly became well known across the world because there was a whole new meaning to it, a whole new passion to it. I was a whole new man, after, the amputation. Uh, I think it motivated me in ways that I never thought possible.
I have this quote here. It says, it takes a lot of imagination to be a good photographer. You need less imagination to be a painter because you can invent things. But as a photographer, everything is so ordinary. It takes a lot of looking before you learn to see the extraordinary. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I kind of have to agree with that because, you know, doing what we do and what I've done half my life, I have to be a step ahead of just even the fighter.
Mm,
In order for me to capture that moment, I have to be able to envision, I have to be able to surmise in a millisecond what's going to happen. So I have to look for a muscle to twitch, or if I know the fighter, look for a certain defining aspect that's going to tell me when when to push that button on the camera. It's like writing a sentence, but not knowing the full words. And as a photographer, you have to. But not only do you have to capture that moment, but you have to add value to it. You have to add complexity to it. You have to add passion to it.
mm.
And it's truly hard being a photographer. It's not, I mean, everybody thinks it's just pushing a button, and for some it is. But if you truly love what you do and you want to give your heart and your soul to it, then you have to put your heart and soul into that picture.
Now, I have a question for you, and there's a follow-up on this. Which is harder to be a photographer, right now or back on the good old days?
Uh, right now, to be honest with you, I talk about this all a bunch of times. These people nowadays aren't photographers. They're not. You got to remember, I go back to the 35 millimeter days, and that's what truly defines you. I mean, people don't understand that when digital photography came out, that I was on the same level playing field as everybody else.
Mm,
I was, I had to start fresh. I didn't understand digital photography. I mean, it's digital imagery. Anybody and their brother can do this. The part that was the hardest for me to understand was I had to relearn my whole trade all over again when digital photography came out. So it was, I loved it when it was 35 millimeter, but living in the digital era, I had to step up my game threefold. I had to put that much more passion, that much more effort. And, like I said, losing my leg, I had to work three times as hard to compete because where in a field when it was 35 millimeter, you might have had 10, 20 photographers. Now that it went to digital, you've got hundreds of photographers.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So not only did I have to reteach myself how to shoot the sport, but I also had to reinvent myself because at that point anybody can, get an app or manipulate a photo to sheer perfection. So it had to be more than the image for me. Like you said in the beginning of the show, I had to make sure my pictures told a story. I had to make sure that I caught that moment, but not only catching that moment, but putting meaning behind it. And it was really something that was hard for me to do. And even to this day, people with a $3,000-4,000 cell phone can take incredible pictures.
That's true.
You know, and you could take that picture home and you could run it through three or four different apps, and you can come out with sheer perfection. And here's another aspect that a lot of these young and up and coming photographers really don't understand is they truly don't need us anymore. You could pull an image from video. So in order to be existent in a sport, you have to be able to provide something that they can't pull from a video, something that 99,999 other
Mhm.
photographers can't give them. So you have to create and develop in your style something that the world still wants, even though they can bypass that in a heartbeat. And what I did was I created an aspect of shooting from different angles. I gave up the stool to take back the apron. And the reason I did that was because being above the fighters, you don't always get to see, especially in MMA, you don't get to see the blood dripping from the forehead. You don't get to see the expressionism, when they're getting choked out. And I was able to do that. And truly, that's one of the things that saved my career was stepping down from the stool and taking back the apron and redefining myself on that path.
And I see what for you, you really have the greatest advantage because you started way back then. We're in um, everything still on the 35 millimeter. You have the films, the rolls, and you should take, prepare yourself on where to go to be on a perfect time, on a perfect spot, and having those things prepared in your mind. And right now you already it works like a clock within you, so that it comes out easier for you in a way to take those photos right now. The only thing is like the difference would be the digital thing that tries to level things out.
And a lot of people don't understand in this sport, you as a photographer, I if I shoot an event like next weekend per se, I get a whole 6 foot section to myself. And then you look the next 6 foot section over and you got five, six, seven guys
Hmm.
crammed in that. And they don't understand it. But the thing about it is I've earned my right. I'm a two-time Hall of Fame inducted fight photographer, and I've earned my right for my real estate. See, in this sport, it's a vicious world. You have to stay on top. You have to continue to give out the best product, or you're just an afterthought.
Hmm.
Fighters say they're only as good as their last fight. Well, so is a photographer. You're only as good as the last fight you shoot. If you don't give quality product, then somebody else will. So I have to go into every fight just like the fighter. I have to give it my all. And I have to continually, while I'm shooting, think outside the box and stay that one step ahead of everybody else. Because if I don't, then I'm just like all these others. I'm just, I'm going to lose what I've gained and fought for 25 years.
Now, talking about combat sports photography, do you have any other than combat sports, anything interest, any subjects, still pictures, landscapes, portraits? Have you tried doing that as well?
Oh, yeah. I've done a lot of landscape work. I've done a lot of historical work for the state of Missouri that's well published and documented in our state's archives and things of this nature. Those, it's funny because a lot of people ask me, and I generally don't tell them, but shooting nature pics is probably one of my more favorites than even shooting fight pics. I just I love the outdoors. As a kid, I got to live in Alaska,
Mm.
and it's some of the most beautiful country you'll ever see. And I don't know, there's just something about being alone with nature. And I'm Native American, so it's kind of like a spiritual thing for me to take the time and shoot the nature. Is It's really something that's very, very prevalent to me. I tried shooting weddings. I did that quite well, but it wasn't my thing.
Mhm.
I shoot concerts, as you know, I really I thrive on that. But looking at my whole career, I'd have to say nature is what really inspires me. Nature is probably one of the most prominent aspects of me. And I know a lot of people don't expect me to say that because I'm a combat sports photographer, but I truly feel at home in the nature, in the wild, to be honest with you.
Did anybody ask you about that? I mean, ask you other than combat sports, I'm other than combat sports, you're interested in taking photos. You also love doing nature. Now, my this would be the second round. Sorry about that. I have this problem. I'm dyslexic. There are times that words just come out of my mouth. Pardon me about that. We'll be going to the second round. Now, earlier, I did ask you about some photos. So you shared to me some photos, and this is what I call what's going on round. And the thing is, maybe you could tell us the real story of these photos and give us the context on the things that you shared. So let me do this. This is the first one. So can you tell me what's going on here?
That's actually the Dean Amin Keith Jardine, a UFC world champion and veteran. Uh, that was right before I forget what event that was, and we hadn't seen each other in a while, and we decided that we wanted to immortalize that moment, and because you don't know when you're going to get to see each other another time,
Mhm.
so we immortalized that moment. But yeah, the Dean Amin Keith Jardine is a tremendous legend of the sport, a true brother. See, this one thing, for the longest time in our sport, we were like kids back in the olden days. You should be seen but not heard.
Mm.
And as the sport evolved, we got to take pictures and do things with fighters. I was one that was really old school, and I really never did that for most of my career. But as I started to get a little bit older, I wanted some memories. So when me and brothers like that meet up, we cherish them and we take pictures and we immortalize them. So we have that opportunity to go back and reflect.
Here's another photo.
That's me and Benson Henderson.
Where was that? Was it in WEC or UFC when you had
Yeah,
that?
that was actually Bellator.
Oh, Bellator. So
Yeah,
that's more recent.
yeah, that is gosh, uh, I think that goes back to Dynamite 2.
Mm.
Uh, that's probably 3 or 4 years back, but yeah, it's a tremendous brother of mine.
Got a question about Ben. He a mama's boy?
You put me on the spot like that.
All I can say that his mom loves him so much.
Oh yeah,
100%.
and one thing I want to say is he's not the person that everybody portrays him to be on social media. He truly is a Christian man.
Mm.
He's a family man, and yeah, he is mama's boy. But who isn't a mama's boy, right?
Right, sir. This next guy is one. Also, I guess he's one of the best. I've seen him fight, and oh my goodness. Tell me
Oh,
more about this photo.
that's me and my family. Cain Velasquez, just a tremendous, tremendous brother. Uh, you know, a lot of people look at fighters as rough and tough, and Cain is he was a tremendous champion. But the thing about him is we go back to AKA American Kickboxing
Mhm.
Academy, and you know his main dream and intent from fighting was to be able to provide for his mother and to buy her a house. And he was able to do that. And unfortunately, she passed away not too long ago. But Cain Velasquez is probably one of the truest souls that has crossed my path.
Mm.
He is the people's champion, whether he's holding a belt or not. He will always be immortalized in the sport. You know, one of the greatest UFC fighters that I have the honor and the privilege to call my brother. Just
A
a
very humble person, down to
Oh
earth.
yeah, just a real man. Just no machismo. You know, well, fight night maybe, but other than that, he gave to everybody, and he still does.
This person, also a legend like you. Like, I gave him my full salute. The
Uh,
Stitch.
they call us the Cheech and Chong of MMA.
Oh, really? Really? Yeah. Okay.
Oh
Who's
yeah.
Cheech and who's Chong?
Uh, I think I'm Cheech and I think he's Chong, but you know he might argue that with you. But that's my blood. That's as close to me as you're gonna get. Man, everybody that is in this sport knows that me and Jacob Stitch Duran or the biggest brothers. There's no dividing us. You know, it's funny and humbling to me because I remember I was in California in San Jose getting ready to shoot for Bellator, and I didn't see him, so I gave him a call, and
Mhm.
I didn't realize that he was on the set of Creed at the time. They had to fly him back out, and he had to do a redo of a scene in the movie, and they were on set. And he took that phone call from me, and to this day, I always still feel bad, but he told me, man, brother, you call me, I'm always going to answer the phone. I don't care where I'm at. But he was right in the middle of filming a scene, a retake for Creed before it came out. It was Creed 2
Mhm.
before it came out. And you go back the whole entirety of my career, and Jacob's been around. I mean, everybody knows him as the world's most famous legendary cut man, but he's also a man that defined me. You know, I didn't really take precedence to what I meant to the sport or to the fans. And one time, Stitch caught me not taking a picture and not giving an autograph.
Mhm.
And he came up and he grabbed me by my neck and he said, bro, don't ever do that. He said, you take every picture, you sign every autograph. And he goes, those are the people that made you. That's the reason you're here. He says, so don't ever let me catch you, forgetting a fan, refusing to do something for somebody because without those people, you would be nothing.
Mm.
And from that day forward, uh, I let people call me a legend. I started taking pictures. I started giving autographs. I just never seen myself that way. But Stitch, he realized that uh, I needed to give back, and that's the main reason why I do one of my shows, in radio is because I wanted to give back to the sport that put a roof over my head, food in my stomach, and gave me purpose in life. And Stitch is the one that made me realize that. Stitch is the one that really is responsible for the creation of Don McGuire.
Can you remember the first time that you met Stitch?
Oh yeah. I, I don't know if I could tell that story here.
Let's go back to the memory lane. Tell me about that. What was the experience?
I it was I don't know, it was humbling because I always looked up to the man, and there's just those people you could, I look at every fighter as the same as you and I. They just have a different job. And I do that with every aspect in the sport. But there's just something about Stitch. He has this persona about him. And I remember it was back in the UFC, and Burt Watson was shuffling everybody around, babysitter of the stars, and there stood Stitch.
Mm,
And he walked up and he said, "You know, man, I love your work. I love what you do." He said, "I love what you bring to this sport. I've never seen anything like it before." And he said, "I always wanted to get to meet you, and I always wanted to get to know who that man behind the pictures were." And he told me he was a fan. And here I am. I'm like a 13-year-old little girl. I'm starstruck because, I'm hearing this from Jacob Stitch Duran. And from that day forward, it was tremendous because really, I don't call very many people brother. And
mm,
I don't really love very many people in my life to that extent. So the first time I met him was just, it was like a 13-year-old girl meeting their favorite movie star, somebody for the first time. But he forever changed my life because he didn't treat me as if he was better than me.
mhm,
And that's why I always use that expression. I will never walk in front of you. I will never walk behind you. I will walk side by side with you as your equal, because that's what Stitch taught me. That's
mm.
what Stitch gave to me. He created, I don't know, just such wisdom in me, and he brought me up and nurtured me through the sport and made me who I am today. I don't think I would be who I am today if it wasn't for Jacob Stitch Duran.
He's like a big brother to everyone.
Yeah,
And the persona that he exudes, even just the smile, the way that you look at him, it's like, oh my goodness, he's not just like, for me, I see him as like the ordinary cat man or just cat man, but it's like he tries to build a relationship with everyone.
yeah.
And I have another photo here.
Oh, Big
This
John,
guy, this guy, tell me about that.
man, the beginning of the sport. I transitioned over to, I think it was UFC 3. The first time I met Big John McCarthy, and that's the biggest legend of legends. I mean, people, they see him as a referee, but he truly is the most wisest when it comes to the sport. When I think of Big John McCarthy, I think of a man that truly loves every fighter, truly loves what he does.
Mm,
He's a lot like Stitch, man, but Big John is rough around the edges. He's black and white. He calls it like it is, and but the moment you step into the octagon or the ring, and Big John's there, I can guarantee you that your life is entrusted in his hands. He is probably one of the, God, you had to, I know I shared these pictures with you, but you bring, first you bring Stitch and then you bring Big John, and it's just like it's the brotherhood. It's my family of all family. Big John, this sport would not be what it is without Big John McCarthy. It I don't care. Anybody can argue with me all day long, but without Big John McCarthy, the sport wouldn't be what it is today without him. He truly is. a tremendous man. He truly cares about every fighter, every fan, every person. But he truly is a man that loves the sport and
Mm.
loves what he does. And you're just not going to find a more genuine, kind, giving man.
What I love about what you said is when you're inside the cage and your ref is Big John, you know you're safe
Oh yeah,
100% because he, he is really there to take care of the fighters, making sure that no serious harm will be done to them during the fight. And he's been there, I mean, from the beginning and still now being active on the sport,
yeah,
teaching referees, and not just being a referee, but having a school. Am I right? He has a school for referees.
yeah. He truly does. When he stepped away to be a commentator, he's always had the school for refereeing and teaching people how to do what he does. But when he stepped away, I got to admit my heart was broken. Even though he stayed in the sport, he went to commentating, and I felt like it was one of the darkest days in the sport when Big John stepped away to do commentating. But he loves what he does, and he's him and his wife are involved in the sport, and they've created a whole new avenue and a whole new aspect for Bellator. And I think it was a much needed break for Big John because people think that he's just from the UFC and WEC. No, this guy goes back to the early 90s, to judo boxing, to
Mm.
no holds barred, to win. I mean, I'm sure Big John's ref fights in the middle of a cornfield somewhere. The guy's just been around. I mean, think about it. It's probably been close to 30 years,
Hmm.
40, 30, 35 years he's been in the sport. But
Now
pure
there's this
soul.
I know about. It, it's surreal. I, I have what I see here is a group of legends. You got Stitch, you got Big John, and I have you joining me here. It's surreal, and you gotta I gotta apologize for this. Sometimes I stutter. It's more of I'm starstruck. Now there's this photo again, and I was asking like for photojournalists, photographers, there are photos that you really love. It means like this is my money shot. So I asked for that, and then you showed me this one.
Oh yeah,
That's I guess is that Buakaw?
that's Buckow. Yeah.
Yep. There you go. Now talk me through on that shot, how you prepared for that one, and then when you realized, okay, this is the one.
Well, you really don't prepare for a fight. I mean, with Buckow, because Buckow will really throw you anything. But that particular moment, I I knew by the stance because I'm a Muay Thai fanatic.
Mm.
But I knew this was actually one of his promotions. I knew when he does his little stutter step when he's going to do a forward front kick, and I felt that at that time he was going to do it. And most people don't realize that a camera goes in bursts. My cameras will do up to a 20 shot, 22 shot burst, depending on the quality of card I have in it. But that moment, I felt it, because Buckeye was already winning the fight, and I just seen it in his eyes, and I knew I could just see. It's hard to explain as a photographer. We got to feel it, and
Hmm.
like I was explaining to you earlier, you just watch for the flinch of a muscle or you
Hey,
know the the the, the
and you know
lifting of a foot.
it.
But Yeah, when I caught that image, it's crazy because when you asked me to send it to you, that was one of my most favorite pictures. And the reason why is because it showed depth, but at the same time, it showed the warrior of Bacau.
Mm,
It showed the purest form of Muay Thai. You know, it was raw. It was something that inspired me, and I was honored when you asked me that because I really don't like to put a picture out there and say this is my most favorite moment. But that one truly was because just the presence of Bacau. The other night you seen I interviewed the son of Palestine, the Cinderella man,
mhm,
Rami Zaid Ibrahim, the only Muay Thai fighter to bring the unified world title to the United States as a Palestinian and as an American.
mhm.
But Bacau was truly one of the greatest legends ever to grace Muay Thai, in my opinion. And so the fights that I got to shoot of him, not very many people can say they got to shoot Bacau. And it's just the pure raw nature of what he brings to the ring and to the sport. That picture just encompasses everything that I am. I mean, just look at it. Just the flexing of his arms and the front kick and just capturing that moment right at the precise time. It it doesn't just take. It's not just the push of a button. It's the push of a button from your heart. It's truly loving what you do, and I think that picture emulates why I stayed in the sport and why I'm in the sport and why I'm a photographer. That's poetry right there, bro.
Yes, it is. It's a poetry. It tells a story, a lot of story, not just with Bokau himself, even his opponent. Just looking at it, you would see his expression in every muscle. I mean, that was one of the great photos that I've seen. Now, I was creeping, like looking at some of the photos that you made. You did send me this, but I'm gonna show you this photo, and maybe you could react to this one.
Oh no. Oh, that's Juan Archuleta. That's the Spaniard.
Yeah,
That's the moment he won the world title.
and some photos like you took the whole thing, and this one it really describes who he is and who he represents. It tells a story. When
Yeah.
was this?
This was just about 3, 4 months ago.
Mm,
Yeah, it was recent. He just became the the new world champion in Bellator at 155.
man, that was something else. And this is the last one.
Oh
I'll go
no.
out of MMA. I'll go out of MMA. There you go.
Oh, that's the one and only Donald Trump.
I'm not gonna go into politics. I love the picture. I love how you took that photo. Where were you during that time? Where
It
was
was
this?
actually it's actually a green screen, and
Oh,
the imagery on the back is green screened in, but that was just right before this current election. Yeah, here in
mm,
America, we kind of right now because of cancel culture. Um, it's not a very open topic right now in my country. Well, you're here in the United States too, so you know. But I'm very close with the Trump administration.
mm.
Uh, in my phone, I got Donald Trump's phone number in my phone. I've got Trump Jr.'s phone number, Eric
Oh,
Trump.
really? Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. But
You know what's ironic about it though is crossing paths in that retrospect. I didn't vote for Trump in 2016.
mm,
I I didn't I didn't because I didn't buy into the political aspects. What I saw was a man coming from television, from The Apprentice, and other shows, and it was like I wasn't sure I want that man to run the United States, but over the years, created a relationship with parts of the administration, especially with Kaylee, and
Okay, Kaylee.
Kaylee McEnany, yeah, and I got viable aspects and options to interview President Trump, and it it circumvented into a relationship, a friendship that I don't care if people try to dox me. I own my own company. I don't care if they try to deplatform. They can't deplatform me, but I think he's a tremendous man in his walk. I mean, I'm entitled to my personal opinion. I think he really cares about the American people. But one thing nobody can ever take away from, and I think that picture says it, is his legacy. You know, the country and times are going to change, but we all have our own perceptions. We all have our own views. But the legacy of Donald Trump, however anybody wants to look at it, to me, it was an honor. To me, it was a privilege. And to see the patriotism come back to the United States was a tremendous aspect for me. I know this is, we don't really want to get too much into politics, but
Right.
that opportunity will forever be a part of my heart.
Those three photos, I want to share this quote. The best images are the ones that retain their strength and impact over the years,
Yeah.
regardless of the number of times that they are viewed. And I could see this in your photos. Donald Trump, the walkout moment, the Spaniard. I would rather call him the Spaniard, the Bellator guy. I mean, that sticks. It doesn't get old. Every time you see it, it retains the strength, the story of the person himself. Let's go to round three. I gotta call one of our sponsors here, and this is my surprise because you talk about adobo and what's the other one? Pancit.
But yeah,
I got one for you. So this just watch this.
Kamusta kababayan ko? Oh my sexy Pinoys tonight.
No more!
Nobody messes with my family!
You're my hero!
No, man.
It's too Filipino! What? For real?
American!
You know the guy, right? I
I
just I just had an interview with him a couple of weeks ago, and while we were doing like a virtual MMA shadow boxing, and he did mention that he has a movie, The Lumpia. It's like, what? Really?
I love lumpia. You know, I, I think your show is a tremendous aspect. I like the way you do it. And the only way we grow as one, and we share and we create aspects for others is through our voice. And I think what you're doing is a tremendous thing. When you asked me to come on the show, I was honored and I was humbled. You know, these are some dark days in my life. Yeah, you go back about 3 weeks. A good friend of mine, boxing champion, was shot twice and killed.
Oh wow.
And then 5 days later, the polar bear Paul Verlins from No Holds Barred and from the UFC lost his life to COVID. He had underlying conditions, and it was hard for me because I found out moments just after he had passed away. He'd been on a ventilator and been in a coma, and you know, the day he passed away, they let us do a Zoom call, and I was able to tell him I love you one last time. And so getting this opportunity to come on with you is tremendous, because I generally turn a lot of people down. I don't give a lot of people interviews. I've always believed in the sport. I've always done it for the betterment of the fighters and not for myself. I told a good friend of ours, and I'm sure you'll hear it time and time again from me. When you do something, you do it for the intent of others. You don't do it for the intent of yourself. And that's why I do my radio show.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I do my photography. That's why I think I've existed in the sport for as long as I have, is because I do it out of a selfless aspect. I don't expect anything in return. When I do my show, it's for the fighters. I could care less if it's got 1 listen, 1,000,000 listens, as long as that fighter walks away feeling like they've got the best interview they possibly could. That's all that truly matters to me. The same with my photography. There's fights that I shot back in the early days that the promoter would dip out and not pay me, but I would still post the pictures. I would still get the pictures to the fighters, because it wasn't the fighters that did me wrong. It was the promoter. And I've always been about the fighter. I will take out a promotion for disrespecting fighters. This is one thing people really need to understand about me, is I truly love what I do, but I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for the sport, if it wasn't for the fighters. That's what made me decide that I needed to give back, because they put food on my table. They helped me take care of my family. They gave me opportunities that not many get to live. And, me and my wife, we talk about this from time to time, because I'll be sitting there and, like, Sugar Ray Leonard called me and we talked for 2.5 hours, and it blew my mind. But my life has been a dream. I've complained about things and this and that, don't get me wrong, but when I sit back and look at my life, not many individuals can say that they've walked the path that I've walked, nor will they ever be able to say, I've got to be a part of one of the greatest aspects of combat, boxing and MMA. And here I am 25 years later, when most people only last 3 to 5 years. I did that by integrity, passion, and being completely transparent in the sport. You never expect to last 25 years at being a photographer. And I sit here and I watch people come and go, and I'm still here, and I ask myself why. And I think Stitch, when he went on Good Morning America, I think he so eloquently stated it. I'm truly a selfless person. I make sure that my work, like you say and everybody else says, truly tells a story. And I don't expect anything in return. It's always been about helping the young fighters get their next opportunity, and bringing on the older fighters, the legends that everybody forgot, and giving them their day on a soapbox. That's what truly has defined me and created me and molded me. It's never been about me. It's always been about everybody else.
It's the giving aspect. And Don, it's really been a pleasure. Do you still have 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have these questions that I prepared. Let's do this fast. First question, Q&A. Nikon, Canon, Olympus. Which one?
What, what was that? I couldn't hear you.
Which one? Nikon, Canon, or Olympus?
Oh, Nikon all day long. I am, I am a, I give everybody that buys a Canon a bad time. Um, I'll be honest with you. I shot with a Canon
Uh-huh.
for a long time, and then I broke one of my show cameras, and my buddy happened to have an extra camera, and it was a Nikon, and he let me use it. And the colors, the picture, well, like you see the picture with Buckeye,
Mm,
uh, you're not going to get that with a Canon.
mm.
I don't care. I'll argue with anybody until the cows come home. Nikon, I don't know, man. It's just
Going
it's
back 25 years, still same question. Which brand?
going back 25 years.
Mhm.
Uh, Man, that's good. You put me in a spot because at first I did love Canon but going back 25 years, I would still have to say Nikon.
Ah, I'm a Nikon guy. FM2. That's my gear. Next, colored or black and white?
Black and white.
There
I
you
think
go.
black and white shows the true depth, the true spirituality, the true soul and reflection of the moment. I think black and white. I have a black and white of Kimbo Slice
Mm.
that because I shot his last 11 fights, but I have a black and white of Kimbo Slice that really touched his son's soul. Me and Kevin Ferguson, Baby Slice, were
Mm.
really good friends, and I've been able to share moments that nobody else has been able to. I've got thousands of pictures of Kimbo Slice that are unpublished.
Mm.
I a lot of people think I should create a coffee table book or you
Right.
know, but I think those pictures belong to his family. So I'll let his family decide if they want me to create a coffee table book or if they just want to have them for their memories. See, that's one thing about me is my work doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the fighter. And if I can give back to Baby Slice a part of his childhood through his father's pictures, I would rather do that. People say, "Well, sell them," and I could. Some of them are gallery, works, and they're deep, dark moments in Kimbo's life. But I I don't do this for money. I mean, yeah, I do shoot a fight to make a living, but as far as the extra work, I don't do it to make a dollar off another man's soul.
This is so real. Because what you said is almost the same as this code. When you photograph people in color, you photograph their clothes. But when you take pictures, people in black and white, you photograph their souls.
Yeah,
Black and white. So now, next question. I got two more. Kodak, Agfa, Fuji.
Fuji.
36, 24, 12. Only
Yeah.
old school knows this one. Which one?
36.
How many rolls do you bring every time you go to a fight? How many 36?
Oh God. A bag full, to be honest with you.
That's so
What's
expensive
funny?
back in the
It's
day.
funny you bring that up because I got 12 rolls of 35 millimeter in my studio. I don't know what's on them. And a buddy of mine was joking around, told a bunch of people, and so people started betting, asking me to sell these, and because I don't even know what's on them. I got
Hmm.
12 rolls of undeveloped film. I don't even know if it's overdeveloped or
eBay.
not. But you know, right now I think it's at $5,800 for the
Wow.
12 rolls that somebody's willing to pay just to have the 12 rolls. And I don't know if I could part with them. I don't know if I could do that, but I'm interested to see what's on them myself.
Same thing with me. I got two rolls. I just kept it. I forgot what it was, but having those two 36. No, I got 136 and 112. So it's still with me. And I don't know if there's still, right here in Texas, somebody would develop those films. Now, Don, it's the end of the third round, and the score has been cast, and it is a blessing for you to be here. You are an inspiration and a true legend. Now, you got the frame. What's your message, the legacy that you want to share to the world, leave to the world? Final thoughts, and if you want to promote something, please do.
Final thoughts. If you do a good deed in life, cherish it in your heart. If you do a good deed, let that moment mean something to you. I think the greatest gift that we can all give the world is to truly be selfless, to truly look at one another as brother and sister, and to come together as one and create and change a difference in this world. We don't have to live by hate. We can create love but still have indifference. But my final thought is, no matter what, never look down on anybody in life unless you're helping them up.
Thank you so much, Don. It's been a good conversation, and time runs so fast. Again, what can I say? Don McGuire, thank you. Pleasure to have you, sir. Really, again, all I can say is that you are a legend behind building legends in combat sports. Because this, you talk about, legends in MMA. You have, you recently talked to Pat Miletich, Rampage Jackson. I mean, they're true legends in the sport, but they won't be there without the photos that you do, that you take, and the photos that, really build them and makes a true story of who they are and what they are. The last time you also had that conversation with Rampage, you have this program. You forgot to say about that. Promote it. The fighter's voice, my friend.
Oh, yeah, I'm syndicated on iHeartRadio, Univision, Castbox FM transmitter, and also we're in the works doing something with Pinoy Broadcasting down there with some good friends of mine. But you can find me at the Fighter's Voice with Don McGuire. Google it, uh, or go on Facebook at the Fighter's Voice with Don McGuire. It truly is my passion, my heart and soul, sharing everybody from all walks of life. But man, this is your show. I don't want to brag about me.
Oh, no, no. This is not my show. It's your show. I invited you. You're the guest. You're the man. I'm just here to let your voice be heard. Like I said, for me, I call it, I just facilitate things. You're the guest. You're the star of the show. I'm nobody here. So Fighter's Voice, to those who are watching right now, you gotta, go to Don's Facebook page, any Telegram, any other
Well,
social
yeah,
media.
I don't have. I just do Facebook. But if you Google at the Fighter's Voice with Don McGuire, and instead of with, it's just the W. Um, you'll find 500 episodes of tremendous legends, uh, amateurs coming up, and you'll see the transition on some of my shows from fights to music to movie stars
Mm.
to book authors to all aspects. Musicians. As I've shot concerts most of my career, so I have a music show, but that's one that I don't do very often because I think music is in my heart, and I think if you do a music show, you got to do it right because otherwise you're just watering it down. And I won't water down music because everybody, let's face it, everybody loves fights, and but the whole world loves music.
Mm.
Music brings us together, and I'm truly humbled and honored you let me come on your show this evening and share who I am. I'm truly an introvert in an extroverted world, but my love for the sport has truly allowed me to create some beautiful works for the fighters, for the fans, and it's been more of an honor for me to do this for them. And hopefully, I got many more years left in me. But it was truly I'm more humbled to be on your show and share this hour with you. You're a great man in your walk. Keep doing what you're doing, and I look forward to the next time.
Thank you, sir. And I'm not gonna let you go off anytime soon. Please stay for just a few minutes. I'll just do my outro. That's Mr. Don McGuire, the legend. And thanks for watching Paris Lounge. This is Doc Vince. Stay safe, be safe. God bless you all. Be a legend. Good night. Bye bye.